What should be done to make Balkans a new gaming hub?
Good morning. I would like to thank audience for being here as we will explore the subject of what should be done to make Balkans the new gaming hub. My name is Suren. We had a very interesting conversation with Francesco and Johann early in the morning on this subject. I think we were about to be late for this panel. So it was very engaging for us all. We will start by introducing, maybe Johann, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Johann Sigurdsson. I am one of the founders of a company called BWLoto that has an operation here in Belgrade. Previous to that, I worked for Novomatic and actually was involved in establishing an office here in Belgrade on their behalf. And so since 2012, I've had lots of experience being in the Balkans and let's say very positive experience operating from an iGaming gaming perspective in the Balkans. From a product perspective, we have gaming platforms, player account management systems, and what we call instant win games, and we also do quite a bit of outsourcing to state, national and state lotteries around the world.
I'm Francesco Postiglione. I am the CEO of PSK Hattrick. We operate in Croatia, and I am part of the executive board of Fortuna Entertainment Group. We operate in other 4 CEE countries: Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and of course Czech Republic. We generate in the region more than $500 million revenues, and I hope I can contribute to this panel in the right way.
Thanks, Francesco. Early in the morning, you mentioned that you also had experience in Malta, and you know how the island works, regulation, etc. Do you see that Balkans as a region can become something similar to what Malta radiates for the industry and the world?
In my opinion, I mean, the answer is much better. I mean, the potentialities of the Balkans are much higher than Malta. I stayed in Malta for 2 years, by the way. I was managing the international markets of BetClick from there. And the success of Malta was due to the European regulatory framework in the early 2000s, basically. All the European markets were not regulated, basically. They were gray markets. And with a Maltese license, you could, somewhat and somehow operate legally in these countries. Today, this proposition is not there anymore, as simple as this. You need local licenses. So the added value of a Maltese license is close to zero, at least if you want to be, legal. Simultaneously, the competencies that were present in the island left the country. I mean, it's very difficult today to find CEOs or high-skilled professionals in the island because it's not a good place where to stay because of the financial situation of the island, which one day is in the blacklist of the European Union, another day is not, and also because, again, the licensing advantages have gone, as simple as this. So today Malta is a little hub for customer service operations, for trading, and basically that's it. And it's an island in the middle of the sea. The Balkans are a much bigger region. They have access to very talented people in terms of R&D, in terms of marketing. Knowledge of English is pretty good in the region, so people talk English, especially the younger generations. So I do believe that companies as Fortuna, as an example, should be very interested in investing in the region in order to create hubs for marketing, for R&D, and for other satellite operations that are fundamental for the business.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan, Francesco, obviously their side is B2C, more player-facing, more licensing, but you mentioned in the introduction that you actually have an office in Serbia now. So from the perspective of a B2B provider, where setting up a software development office or maybe a support, can you maybe share your experience and from the perspective of the region becoming a hub where B2B providers or developers can set up their operation? What is your view on that?
I think like what Francesco said about I think we all love, we are here because we love the culture, we love the people, and on top of that, the education level, the language, it's basically a no-brainer for us to, our decision early on was we would build out all of our development and customer service out of the region because we have access to great people. It's getting a bit harder now with it's a very competitive market now for good people, but still better than many other areas. And from an R&D and technology educational perspective, I think it's hard to find a better place to be. So we are extremely happy from a operational experience. Taxation, government, or regulation is quite fair, and we are. I don't see the day that we would ever consider leaving. So thank you.
Johann, was there a particular reason you chosen Serbia to open an office? Did you looked out at the other countries in the Balkans, compared, and if you are to do it again, would you choose Serbia as a place to set it up?
So like I said in the beginning, I've been involved since 2012. The company I was working for at the time, we had a small development center in Poland, and we were on a path either to expand that or shut it down and go somewhere else. And at that time, we looked across, we compared Romania, Ukraine, and the Balkan regions, and to us, Belgrade made the most sense. For one of the reasons being that there were quite a few tech operations in country that gave us access to, let's say, a little bit more experience. And I think, if I was doing it today, I think we would come to a very similar conclusion. There are probably, after COVID, in the region, it's easy to form companies. So from a satellite perspective, we have been looking at places like Sarajevo, Bosnia, and Moldova, etc., where we can set up companies and basically pay salaries, but people can either work from a satellite office or from their home. So.
Francesco, in terms of new companies entering the region as it becomes a hub in terms of operators, and we have discussed also in the previous panel, there were discussion about the regulatory framework, and we well know that it can be a two-sided coin. On one side, it can navigate businesses, how to enter and expand on the market, but on the other side, there can be certain barriers as well. What is your experience as Fortuna expands in the regions, in the operation? What are the opportunities for the new entrants?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities are relevant, but must be considered that the barriers to entry the market are also quite relevant in terms of regulation, in terms of competition. The situation among the Balkans regions is quite fragmented, so it's very difficult to have an homogeneous view, on the overall region. Each country should be picked up specifically following its own regulation and its own competition framework. What I have seen basically are two trends. M&A There is a lot of M&A in the region, and there will be a lot of M&A in the region, at least for the next 24, 36 months. I mean, there are international powerhouses, including ourselves, of course, Fortuna, interested in expanding in the region. And this is more for retail and online sportsbook. When we instead look at casino, which is by far the fastest growing vertical in the region, again, I believe that there is M&A, but there is also organic growth. I've seen quite a number of brands launching their own brand from scratch and gaining very relevant market share positions in a matter of 18, 24 months, from 0 to 15, 20%. Which means that at the end of the day, when you are not dependent from a retail network to succeed in the online, be it for the regulatory framework, be it for the customer's habits, you can succeed also, launching your own stuff, investing properly in the product and in the marketing, and making sure that simply the customers enjoy what you have to offer. So I'm sure that the Balkans are by far the most interesting region in Europe for this kind of, let's say, expansion, at least for the next 2-3 years. The main reason probably is that the regulation is still very good, both in terms of taxation and in terms of, let's say, players' protection. And this makes the Balkans, again, one of the hottest, targets for international powerhouses.
And what about it being a hub where operators in the Balkans can tap on other international markets? Actually, historically, and I may be wrong, but there are a lot of similarities in the technology that operators using in some African countries and what is a tradition in Balkan to use, especially in the retail environment. So if you look back into years, there was a certain spillover of technology into African retail environment as the companies expanded into the market. Do you see, or is there any potential where large operators and not only small operators who are operating in Balkan market can use it as a base to enter international markets via their online operation, and what is the potential here to service it? Francesco.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you have just mentioned examples in Africa. We have very important, as an example, Serbian operator, which already runs operations in Africa. We have a few examples in Romania, as an example. In Romania, where they run operation for some Western European operator. And I mean, sky's the limit. As far as you have the knowledge and the money, of course, but again, in the region there is both, why not? You can go in Western Europe, you could go in the US. It's a matter of, let's say, sustainability of the business plans and of the investment thesis.
Johann, and getting back to what you do in the business, while you're trying to expand your clients internationally for the products that the company does, what is the biggest challenge that you are facing? And if you radiate it into the region, do you have a similar challenges here if you were to offer the lottery product in the region?
No, so let's say in the Balkan region, like when we are approaching state lotteries, I don't see many similarities. Most of them are part of the World Lottery Association. The regulatory framework is similar, but I think the main thing is, like, even if we look at the Serbian National Lottery, it's if you compare it against their peers, like in Croatia, they're underperforming. So there is a great opportunity for, let's say, improvement operationally and technically. But like other than that, like I don't see any major differences other than like what we see across the globe. Players have different preferences, but which maybe changes the product mix a little bit. Regulatory framework is a little bit different in all markets, and you need to adapt to it. But from being based here in the region, it's actually one of our greatest strengths is because, at least in my experience, most of our customers really enjoy working with our people, and that is, at the end of the day, what makes a difference. Other than the price, and yeah, so those are kind of like one of the main things, and yeah, in other markets, I think it's the only thing that you could maybe talk about the Balkans or Eastern Europe is regulation changes, let's say, can change or be changed with the change of government relatively quickly, so stability-wise maybe a little bit different, but then again we haven't seen anything other than Bulgaria having very swift regulatory changes from a lottery perspective. So.
At the previous panel on the regulation, I think one of the panelists mentioned about the player protection and that maybe the local regulation is not as strict towards it. Francesco, we spoke early in the morning about how you at Fortuna internally pay attention to responsible gaming also from business continuity and long-term perspective to make, and I just want to bring here parallels to make Balkans a gaming hub. We would need probably a single regulator or a body who will promote it as a destination. It's very easy, or was very easy for Malta to do it as a country promoting itself, but who is going to promote Balkans as a single gambling destination? And maybe there is a similarities, like as a company you were doing something to do with player protection that doesn't exist. Can you please expand on it and maybe comment on the regional framework?
I mean, my past experiences were all in the Western, in West Europe. I mean, I managed the Belgium, the Netherlands. I had experience in Spain, Portugal, UK, Italy, of course, in my previous jobs. And the situation I found here in the Balkans in terms of player protection is, I'm sorry to say it, a little bit comparable to Far West. There is no player protection in place. I mean, the companies, of course, the B2C operators offer some tools to the players like self-exclusion, deposit limit, daily limits, etc. But are these tools really implemented and forced, pushed down from the operators to the players? No. Which in the short term, it's a very good opportunity for the business, of course. You have good VIPs, you have high spenders, etc. But in the medium-long term, can be very, very dangerous and will be dangerous and detrimental for the industry as a whole. I mean, as soon as the politicians will get more aware about the damages that especially online gambling can produce on people, and as soon as you will, have on the press a few articles about people who get ruined and do extreme things because of they gamble too much, the politician will, come back harshly and brutally on the B2C operators, imposing advertising bans, deposit limits, and any kind of, restriction that you can imagine of. This is happening already in the Western Europe. It is happening in UK, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Italy, in Spain. It will happen here. So the question is not if, but when. And I believe that the operators should talk to each other in the most honest way possible in order to understand how to create a common strategy to mitigate the harms of gambling, and also to understand how they can present themselves to the stakeholders in order to show what they are doing in order to prevent these things working. This is not happening today at all, so it's up to the single operator. In Fortuna, we are investing a lot of money in our own tools in order to detect in time high-risk players. And once we detect an high-risk players, we automatically exclude these players from all the campaigns, and automatically we start sending a number of communication to force the player to reduce his gambling activity. And if we don't see any improvement in terms of gambling activities, or if we don't see any decrease, we can also automatically close the account of the player. This, of course, produce a decline in our revenues in the short term. We are very fully aware of this. But what we understand and what we already see, since we are doing this for the last couple of years, is that we are basically replacing the sales, the revenues of these VIPs with recreational players, which in the long term are what we want in terms of sustainability for our business. We're a little bit alone to do this, so we are, let's say, in a sort of unfair competition, but again, it's our call, it's our decision. So it's good, it's okay. When I talk to my peers, I always recommend them to do the same, but not because I want to, have a level playing ground, but just because I want to save the industry moving forward. This is not understood yet fully, but I'm sure that in the next 12, 24 months, it will be understood.
Okay, great. Johann, maybe like to add something?
No, I think I just want to agree here with Francesco, because I think across the globe, one of the largest lost opportunities has been self-regulation, because the industry as an industry, we have failed to self-regulate, both from an advertising perspective, player protection perspective, and what's happening is what we see happening in the Netherlands, Sweden, and other markets is we're just being we're being forced to adapt instead of stepping up as an industry and dealing with the issues, which is better for us, I think, in the long term.
Yes, thank you. And I think events like this that SiGMA is organizing in Balkan as well will facilitate of the different representatives from different regions meeting each other, and it can become a occurring event. Francesco, in terms of the regional, if you are to identify a specific country which has most opportunities for B2C operator to expand, or maybe this is something that are in your plan, which country in Balkans that would be?
I'm biased here. I live in Croatia, so I would say Croatia, but jokes apart, I believe that each country in the region have a lot of opportunities. Of course, if you have countries that are part of the European Union, they have more opportunities than others. If you look at Croatia and what Croatia has become in the last, I would say, 5 years, it's incredible. Croatia has attracted a lot of international companies. As an example, Amazon Cloud Services are opening their own offices in Zagreb. And it's also a country which is able to attract international talents from the whole Balkan and CE region. The quality of life is good, taxation is good, both on personal income and on company incomes, and it's in the center of Europe. So this proposition, of course, can be offered from many other Balkans countries, Romania, Serbia, until a certain extent Bosnia. But again, what I see, and it's fully understandable, is that being part of the European Union, it's very important for securing, relevant investments and to give to the investors a certain level of reliability.
Okay, thank you very much for participating at the panel. We started a bit late, so we're going to finish early, 5 minutes early, to be on time. I'm sure many of the audience participants, they might have questions to you. They can find you easily on the LinkedIn, or you can approach me at the stand, and I will give you your contacts, and they can meet you in person as you are at the shop. So thank you very much.
Thank you.